President Trump calling out James Comey on Twitter, accusing the former FBI director of illegally leaking classified information. During a one-on-one interview with Bret Baier on Special Report, Comey defending sharing memos on his conversations with President Trump to several people, including Columbia law professor Daniel Richman.
I sent Mr. Richmond a copy of a two-page unclassified memo and asked him to get the substance of it out to the media.
You call him a good friend and a professor, but you didn't reveal that you had hired him as a special government employee for the FBI to work on special projects. Why?
Because it wasn't relevant. He was an FBI special government employee until February of 2017.
Did you have other special? Did you leak other things through Mr. Richmond?
Yeah. I'm smiling, Brett. I don't consider what I did with Mr. Richmond a leak. I told him about an unclassified conversation with the president.
Let's bring in our panel. Leslie Marshall, Fox News contributor and a host of the syndicated radio talk show, The Leslie Marshall Show, and Lawrence Jones, editor-in-chief of CampusReform.org, conservative commentator and radio talk show host. Thanks, both of you, for being with us on a Friday.
Thanks,
so,
John.
Leslie, is it a leak or is it not?
It's really not whether it was a leak, John, or whether it was a criminal offense. We're getting into the weeds with semantics on that word leak. I do think the information was leaked. But what was the intent of James Comey? When we look under the current, actually, Obama executive order for the rules of classification, James Comey actually had the power to classify or declassify material. So one, it's his intent, and two, was it a threat to national security? And if neither of those can be proven, then James Comey has not committed a criminal offense. It may have been a poor choice of judgment, perhaps, much like Hillary Clinton, but not criminal and not a threat to national security, and not outside the scope and parameters of his position at the time.
Lawrence, go ahead.
Yeah, John, this is not about national security. It's the fact that a former FBI director leaked information to get a special counsel. Many of this information that we found is that a lot of this stuff had to be redacted because it was classified. So the fact that we have a former FBI director deciding when information can be leaked or not leaked is a problem. And the fact that he leaked it to a guy that was formerly on the payroll of the Justice Department, the FBI, is also a problem for me.
Well, and Leslie, there's the Peter Strzok, Lisa Page affair. The two FBI agents who got caught by the Inspector General texting about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Comey says he didn't see any animus toward anybody. Is that a fair reading of their texts? I mean, it's pretty clear to me that those two hated Donald Trump.
It is, but I think that within the government, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in the Oval Office, there are going to be people who agree with or disagree with the president. These people had a relationship and were giving personal information to each other. We're giving each other information personally via these texts. So it could be in his capacity as director of the FBI at the time. He did not sense that in the workplace. He obviously, at the time, was not trolling through his staff's personal emails or text messages.
That's where you get the unvarnished truth, Lawrence, when you read the text messages that people are sending when they're not necessarily on working hours or they're not being, submitting stuff to their bosses.
Right. I mean, it's his job to manage. He personally was managing this investigation. He should know what's going on in his inner circle. They were using their government phones to do all this texting. Look, here's the bottom line. This is not even a partisan issue. Every American should be concerned that investigators are having conversations demeaning the person that they are investigating. And the fact that Leslie doesn't see that as a problem, I feel like that's a little bit of intellectual dishonesty.
There have been suggestions that Director Comey had decided to exonerate Hillary Rodham Clinton in the whole server investigation even before she was interviewed by FBI agents. Here's Brett asking him about that.
Is it true that you and your FBI colleagues made the decision to exonerate Secretary Clinton well before she was interviewed?
No.
So why wait till the end, and why write up the memo that you eventually bring forward
Yeah,
first?
no, that's a good question. Come May, after we've been doing it for about 10 months, I started to, as part of my regular briefing from the investigators, see that their view was it was unlikely to end in a case that the prosecutors at DOJ would bring.
So, Lawrence, unlikely to bring prosecution against Hillary Clinton for mishandling sensitive secrets.
That's not his job. He is no longer a U.S. attorney anymore. His job is to bring the evidence to the Justice Department and say, this is what we have. Can you guys prosecute? His job is not to decide if he's going to charge or not. It was insubordination at its finest. Even though I don't like Loretta Lynch, it was insubordination from him going to have this press conference, from him deciding that he wasn't going to charge. It's not his job, John.
Leslie?
Well, I would disagree. As the director of the FBI, you can't bring everything before the Department of Justice. You have to bring information that you find as a result of an investigation that yields the question of criminality. And there was not the question of poor judgment. Yes. Was it a stupid move and poor judgment? Yes, I've said it over and over, and so have many. But was this criminal? And quite frankly, if Hillary Clinton's emails and her use and intent were not criminal, that could actually work now in James Comey's favor in a court of law.
She had classified information on a private server. It was not in a secure location.
When was it classified?
That's a crime.
When was it classified or declassified? By whom? What was the intent when it was sent? And was it classified at that time? And that is extremely essential and relevant in a court of law.
Extremely careless, I think, was James Comey's
which he now
characterization.
regrets using, John.
I agree.
All right. Well, it was quite an interview, and I guess the arguing goes on over all of this. Leslie, Marshall, Lawrence Jones, thank you both.
Have a good weekend.
You
Thank
too.
you, John.